This is impossible.
The villagers forced open the door and froze. The most powerful man in Ekunma and another man's wife were trapped together in a way no human could explain. Then her husband arrived and everything changed forever. Many years ago, in the village of Ekunma, there lived a man called Chief Madu Kenga. His wealth was impossible to count. His barns stayed full, his compound stretched across the land, and his servants obeyed without question. People respected him in public, but in private, they spoke carefully. Madu had one weakness that destroyed every good thing around him. He believed no woman should refuse him. If he admired a married woman, he pursued her without shame. If her husband protested, Madu used money, influence, or humiliation until the marriage broke apart. No man challenged him. Until one woman arrived. Among the many stories people whispered, one remained unforgettable. A skilled blacksmith named Obinna lived peacefully with his wife, Nala. They had little wealth, but lived with dignity. One market day, Madu saw Nala and became interested immediately. He began sending gifts. Nala rejected them. Then Madu changed tactics. He laughed publicly at Obinna's poor clothes and small house. He promised Nala a better life, expensive wrappers, servants, and status. Days turned into weeks. Pressure became too much. Nala eventually left her husband. She became Madu's 13th wife. That day, fear entered every home. Far from Ekunma, in the peaceful village of Udochi, lived Izine, known for her beauty and quiet strength. But people respected her for something greater. She was deeply loyal. Izine was married to Dikiora, the chief spiritual guardian of Udochi. He was calm, wise, and highly respected. Before their marriage, Dikiora gave Izine a special strand of waist beads and told her, "These are not decoration. Honor them and protect your choices." Izine never asked questions. One season, news arrived that her elderly aunt, Mama Kora, who lived in Ekunma, had become seriously ill. Izine prepared to travel. Izine arrived in Ekunma, carrying medicine and supplies. She stayed quietly inside her aunt's compound and spent her days caring for her. But beauty cannot always hide. One afternoon, while returning from the stream, Izine crossed paths with Chief Madu. He stopped walking. Everything around him seemed to disappear. He watched her until she vanished behind a fence. Later that evening, he asked his servants, "Who is that woman?" When he learned she belonged to another man, he smiled. That answer had never stopped him before, and he decided she would become his next victory. The next morning, baskets arrived, fresh fruits, fine fabrics, gold bracelets. No message was attached. Izine returned everything. The second day, more gifts arrived. She returned them again. On the third day, Madu came personally. He spoke politely, praised her beauty, and promised her a life beyond imagination.
Ezinne listened quietly. Then she answered, I already have
Enough. Madu laughed. No woman says no forever. Ezinne looked directly at him. My husband trusted me. I will not break that trust. For the first time in years, Chief Madu Kenga left without speaking, and something dangerous began growing inside him. Chief Madu Kenga could not sleep. For days, he kept thinking about Ezinne. He had been rejected before, but never with such calm certainty. Most women feared him, some admired his wealth, and others eventually gave in. But Ezinne acted as though his riches meant nothing. His pride could not accept it. He sent respected elders to speak on his behalf. They visited Mama Kora's compound and gently advised Ezinne. A powerful man's favor can change your future. Ezinne thanked them and refused. When the elders reported back, Madu smiled. But inside, his desire had become obsession. A few days later, Madu visited again. This time, he came alone. He found Ezinne outside, grinding spices. He spoke softly. Does your husband truly deserve someone like you? Ezinne remained silent. Madu continued. You live simply. I can give you comfort, servants, land, everything. Ezinne stopped and looked at him. My husband never promised me comfort. Madu frowned. She continued. He promised me respect. Those words irritated him. He stepped closer. People always change. Ezinne stood. Then I pray I never become one of those people. She walked inside. Madu watched her leave. His pride had now turned into determination. Days later, Mama Kora's illness worsened. Ezinne stayed awake through the night, caring for her. Before sunrise, the old woman passed away. The compound became heavy with mourning. Neighbors gathered. People cooked. Drums stayed silent. Ezinne cried quietly while helping prepare the burial. From a distance, Madu watched. For the first time since she arrived, she looked tired and vulnerable. He saw sadness, and instead of showing mercy, he saw opportunity. That evening, he instructed one of his trusted servants to prepare something for the funeral gathering. Nobody questioned him. After the burial, visitors remained in the compound. Food was shared. Palm wine moved from hand to hand. Ezinne had barely eaten all day. She sat quietly in exhaustion. A servant approached respectfully. Chief Madu sends this to help ease your grief. She wanted to reject it, but people were watching. She accepted the cup. The drink tasted normal. Minutes later, her head became heavy. Sounds around her faded. Faces blurred. She tried standing. Her legs weakened. The
The last thing she remembered was seeing someone approach through the darkness. Then, nothing. At sunrise, screams filled the compound. Villagers gathered outside a guest hut. Nobody entered. People stared in horror. Inside, Chief Madu and Izine lay locked together in an impossible embrace. No matter how they struggled, they could not separate. Men pulled. Women cried. Nothing worked. Madu's confidence disappeared. Izine woke slowly and realized where she was. Her face turned pale. She screamed and tried to free herself. Nothing moved. Word spread quickly across Ekunma. Before midday, messengers had already begun running toward Udochi to call her husband. And nobody knew what would happen when he arrived. By afternoon, dust rose on the road leading into Ekunma. People stopped talking. A small group entered the village. At the front walked Dikeora. He wore simple clothes and carried no weapon. Yet nobody dared speak. His face showed neither anger nor sorrow, only silence. When he reached the compound, the crowd moved aside. Inside, Izine was crying. Madu looked exhausted and afraid. Dikeora stood at the entrance and observed them quietly. After a long moment, he spoke. Separate them. Several men tried again. Nothing happened. Dikeora nodded once, then said softly, I expected this. The compound became silent. Dikeora entered and stood before Izine. She stretched out her hands. Please, listen to me. But he raised his hand. Then he looked at Madu. You wanted what belonged to another man. Madu tried speaking. Dikeora ignored him. He turned to the villagers. Before my wife left home, I gave her waist beads. People exchanged confused looks. Dikeora continued. They were not for beauty. He looked directly at Izine. I told you to protect your choices. Then he faced the crowd. That promise carried protection. Whispers spread immediately. Madu suddenly began shaking. For the first time, he understood fear. Izine broke down. With tears, she explained everything. The gifts, the pressure, the funeral, the drink, the darkness. She swore she never agreed. Many villagers lowered their heads. Some had seen Madu send the drink. Nobody had spoken. Madu suddenly shouted, She came willingly. His words echoed, but nobody answered. Too many people. He knew his history. Too many homes had already been damaged. Dikeora remained still. Then he asked one question. Did you knowingly betray your marriage? Izine looked at him. Her answer came through tears. No. People rushed towards him. But it was over. Chief Madu Kenga, the richest and most feared man in Ekunma, was gone. compound became silent. Ezine crawled toward Dikeora. She held his feet. "Take me home." Dikeora looked at her for a long time. Then he spoke. "You did not choose evil." She looked up hopefully. But he continued. "You ignored warning and trusted carelessly." Her expression changed. Dikeora stepped back. "I cannot carry what has been broken." He turned and left. Ezine remained there, surrounded by people, yet completely alone. After Dikeora left, nobody moved. Ezine remained on the ground until sunset. Women who had once comforted her avoided her eyes. Some pitied her. Others judged her. People argued quietly. She was deceived. She should have been more careful. Her husband was too harsh. No answer changed anything. Ezine could not return to Udochi. She could not remain inside Mama Kora's empty compound forever. Days later, she moved into a small abandoned hut at the edge of Ekunma. The same village that watched her suffering now watched her live alone. Madu's death changed Ekunma. For years, people had feared him. Now, stories began coming out. One woman admitted her marriage ended because of him. Another confessed she accepted gifts because she feared losing her husband's work. Men who once remained silent finally spoke. The village elders gathered. After many meetings, they made a public declaration. No man, regardless of wealth or title, would stand above community law again. The large compound of Madu Kenga was divided. Part was given to widows. Part became common land. People called it justice. Time passed. Seasons changed. Children who once feared Ezine grew older. They noticed something strange. She never spoke badly about Dikeora. She never blamed the village. Every morning, she worked. Every evening, she stayed alone. Sometimes, women quietly visited her. She listened more than she talked. Slowly, people stopped calling her cursed. Instead, they called her careful. Young girls began visiting her for advice, and Ezine always repeated the same words. Do not ignore small warnings. One evening, many years later, a traveler entered Ekunma. People recognized him immediately. Dikeora. He looked older. Without speaking to anyone, he walked to the small hut. Ezine stepped outside. They stood quietly. No anger, no tears, only years between them. Dikeora finally spoke. I came because I heard what kind of life you chose. Ezine lowered her eyes. He looked around. You turned pain into wisdom. She nodded. Then asked softly, Why did you return? Dikeora answered, To leave without bitterness. But Dikeora stayed only one night. Before sunrise, he prepared to leave. Ezine walked with him to the road. He stopped and looked at her. You cannot change yesterday. She nodded. He continued. But you can decide what tomorrow becomes. Then he left. Ezinne did not follow. She returned to the village. Years later, children gathered around fires and listened to her story, not as gossip, not as punishment, but as warning. People remembered Chief Madu Kenga for his pride, but they remembered Ezinne for surviving. And they remembered every choice carries consequences.